And now we'll take the first question for Coach Martin. Let's go to the right, Max. First row.
Max Bonstetter, Sports Illustrated for Kids. Coach, congratulations on the win tonight. Your team clearly won the defensive battle tonight. When you coach and teach your team defense, what's more important, technique or attitude?
First of all, a lot of respect to you. That's a heck of a question. I've been doing this a long time, and that's the first time anyone's ever asked me that. That's a heck of a question. Attitude comes first. We got to have guys that are going to believe in our mission. They're going to believe in what we want to do. Once they believe, then we can teach them the technique. It all starts with our mindset, and we've got guys that are completely bought into what we do.
That is Frank Martin. Back then, he was the men's head basketball coach at South Carolina. Today, he runs the men's program at UMass Amherst. And I wanted to start with that because I was so impressed when I first saw it. And I didn't really know Frank Martin, but I'm so mad that I didn't, because he's an impressive coach with a great message and a really cool, unique way of sharing that message. Because at Frank Martin's core, he is a teacher. And basically, that's what all coaches are anyways. They are teachers. His approach may not be for everybody, but it should be because it works. So here are my 3 coaching points after sitting and talking with Frank Martin. Number 1, why the most selfish thing an athlete can do on a basketball court is be quiet. The hardest thing to change in coaching, and why love, yes, love, is the most important component to success in team building. Here's Frank Martin.
I'm Frank Martin, and I'm coached to win.
When I decided to do this, I'm just so into the coaching aspect and the lessons learned, and I follow college basketball, but not like a savant, not like a guy that is obsessed with it.
Okay.
And my wife brings me this clip because we're kind of working on it together of you from back in 2017 when some Sports Illustrated kid comes up and he asks you a question about playing defenses. What's more important, attitude or skill?
Yeah.
And you take a second and you think about it and you answer it. And I had thought I had seen Jesus. I had never, and I'm being honest with you, I had never seen a coach take a question and forget about who it was from and really explain it correctly. I was like, yes, that's it. He said it out loud. We can all go home now. Why was that answer? What's more important, attitude or skill? I think it was the kid asked. Why attitude? Before I want to start with this. Why attitude? Why is attitude so important?
Because if the mindset is not right, if it's not for the right reasons, there's no technique that ever helps you. It's if you're worried about getting defeated, if you're worried about just yourself, if you're worried about your feelings getting hurt, then the opposition is going to knock you out. You got no chance. And so I don't, like right now, our team right now struggles with defending the basketball. And I keep telling them, I'm like, hey, we're 2 days in. We got 97 more of these. I ain't going away. So either you're going to change. I can't change. The hardest thing to do right now in coaching is because when you got to change bad habits or behaviors, you went through it as an athlete. Mm-hmm. There's 2 ways of changing it. In an uncomfortable way or through education. Education takes time. What do we not get anymore as coaches? It's time. We used to get time. We don't get time anymore. It's got to get fixed today. And if we fix it, you played for Parcells?
No, I played. It was Holmgren, Belichick, Joe Gibbs.
Okay, well, Holmgren, from what I understand, is no walk in the park. So you played for some.
Yeah, Bill is no walk in the park either. No, he's a disciple of Parcells. I knew him.
Yeah. I thought you played for Belichick for Parcells too.
Yeah,
so those guys you played for, I guarantee you there are no walk in the park. But if you do that in today's day and age, you're viewed as a bad guy, and they don't fire you. They come for your career. So I'm trying to figure out how to continue to change behaviors without, I don't get the time for education, but I can't be that old school, old fashioned, crusty, you know what I used to be. So I'm trying to figure all that out for myself. But that moment to me was, I don't care how much technique I show you. If your mind and your heart are not in the right place, it doesn't work. If I'm trying to block you and I use football because I learned first sport I learned growing up in Miami was all football. I didn't know any basketball till I was in 8th, 9th grade. And if I'm trying to block you and I'm worried in the back of my mind that you're going to beat me, I got no chance to block you. Zero. I'm defeated before we even snap the ball. And so that's where that answer came from. And that press conference, the uniqueness of that press conference, we had just beaten Baylor to advance to the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament. And so that's a team that was good. That's a team that had played top 20 basketball all year. I've been in front of national writers from the New York Times to, whoever. And here's a 12-year-old kid asking me a question that no one else had ever asked me. And I was like, wow.
Same.
I'm like, wow. I'm there with my hands up ready to, like, some question that I don't want to answer. I'm like, and boom, it was unbelievable.
Yeah. No, I was saying that's why I was so impressed.
Hold on. Before we go any farther, make sure you click that subscribe button real quick and turn on your notifications. All right, here we go. Back to the show.
When you go out to all these tournaments, the AAU tournaments, I have 3 kids in 3 different sports, and they're all playing in college, and I did the tour in all 3 sports: basketball, lacrosse, and football. And my point to them is, you're in a sea of talent. There's got to be something that makes you stand out, that a coach sees that you're different. When you go to these tournaments and you're looking for players that fit your culture, that fit your mindset, that you want on your team, what are some things that you identify as a player that can make a difference and that isn't stat related?
Voice. When I'm sitting in the gym, whoever is got a voice, my eyes are attracted to that voice because I'm a big communication guy. People, there's this perception of me, which it is what it is. I created it. I can't get mad that I'm overbearing at games and I'm loud and I'm obnoxious and all that. I get it. I'm not being critical of who forms that opinion. That's I've put myself in that place. But in reality, when I have good teams, I don't have to say as much during the game. The voices that carry our team are the voices of the players, because you hear everyone say all the time, well-coached teams, the coach lets them go on game day. Well, it takes time to get to that place. I can't just show up and be Mr. Happy on the sidelines, and I got a team that doesn't know how to do things the right way yet. So when I hear voices, I'm in the gym, and I tell players all the time, the people viewing basketball, the guy shoots it every time. Oh, he's selfish. No, maybe he's a bad passer. Why? Michael Beasley, he shot it every time, but he made 58% of his shots. So I was like, shoot it more, and then I've had other guys who are bad passers. So I don't want him passing the ball. Shoot it. Let's go rebound it. We need to understand that as a team, that he can't pass. That don't make him selfish. To me, the most selfish thing you can do as a human being, as a teammate, as an athlete, is be quiet. Because if you're quiet, you're only concerned about yourself. And if you're only concerned about yourself, then to me, that's selfish. Now, we're not all rah. I don't mean quiet like, no. Some guys are rah guys. Some guys are not. But if you're not a rah guy, when you're not getting your repetitions and you're on the sideline, go help somebody.
When you're dealing with parents, Because the other famous one is about how when you were at your kids' games, you don't say boo. That's another one of my favorites because I try to do the same thing.
It's hard.
It is, but I just feel like it's. I just can't be the parent that yells and screams. There's too many other parents, and I agree with everything you said. As far as the coach isn't getting paid, the ref isn't getting paid. They're all just trying to do a job. It's Sunday morning at 9 a.m. I'm living that life now, and it drives me crazy. But what is acceptable for a parent? Or when is it acceptable for a parent to talk to a coach about playing time? And how would you like a parent to address it to you? Because I know that's a problem in youth sports, absolutely. And it's definitely got to be a problem in college. I'm assuming the parents are still buttoned in and trying to, convince you of something. And maybe the players are. How do you handle that?
Yeah, I think the younger the child, the easier that conversation goes. As a parent, my conversation with the people that have coached my children, because I've got three of them. My oldest is 25. He's getting ready to start life and start working. My daughter's a volleyball player at Duquesne. She's a sophomore, and she backs up the all-league setter. And then my youngest is a junior in high school, and he plays basketball. And my personal opinion, the conversation that I'm at peace with any parent that ever approaches me, if a parent comes up to me and says, "Hey man, why don't my son play?" I'm like, stop. Like, you're making it sound like someone's got a grudge around here. So if
they probably feel that way. I think they inherently probably feel like somebody's out to get them and you don't like them and, and you're holding a grudge. Has been my experience.
Correct. So, and this is like, I coached AAU basketball for 16 years. So I've seen the whole AAU basketball model flip, which is the same as a lot of these clubs in different sports. When parents come up and say to me, "What is my son doing?" I'm open as a book to have that conversation because my job is to help their child. That's what we talk about in recruiting. I don't talk about points or playing time or long-term success. No, that's a commitment I make to everybody. It's not specific to an individual. But as a parent, I think as the way I try to manage it is what I want to know from a coach, whoever's coaching my child, is, if it's some team that they just showed up for, that's one thing. But my daughter got recruited, or my son who's playing at one of New England prep schools, and last year was his first year there. He didn't play much early in the year. I didn't say a word. He went and earned his way through. And I have the right as a parent to ask the coach, "I appreciate you giving my child an opportunity. After coaching my child, is my child good enough? Yes or no?"
Yeah.
If they come back and they say, then you got to have a conversation with your child. Like, you might want to consider, if you're playing at this level, stepping down, or you might want to consider going from here to here and see if you can find somewhere where they do think they're good enough. But when parents come in with, and like, I'll give you an example. I coached two guys back in the day, and they were both dealing with unbelievable home pressure to succeed so they can provide for their families. They were both playing well, but one of them was having a much better year than the other. The other one eventually, the one that wasn't having as a good a year, eventually cracked and blew up. Why? Because he couldn't deal with all the pressure, not that was being placed on by me, being placed on by his family, because and then I'm pressuring him to perform for us to win, not for individual glory. And he eventually popped because he had nobody that he can take a deep breath with.
Yeah.
And when the coach is the voice of reason, when you're in the middle of the season, that's a problem, because we have a responsibility to win games. So we're pressuring the athlete to sacrifice what they think they're good at sometimes to do what's being asked of them so the team can win. And and yet the family's pressuring them for their individual stats to do more because that's how you get drafted, so you can get paid. And it's a complicated dynamic. And I don't know if I answered your question.
No, it is.
It's
It
a
is.
complicated dynamic. It's
No,
really,
you did. How important is it to send the right message and to be as direct and honest as humanly possible? How important is that?
yeah. That's the. I don't know how to live like I had one of my bosses one time. He was my new boss. I was already on the saddle, and I got a new boss, and he came in, and he first time I sat down with the guy, he says to me, "What do you expect from me?" And I said, "I expect to have an easy conversation and a hard conversation the same exact way." And he looked at me like, explain that to me. I said, "Let's live in the truth. If we live in the truth, not in the innuendos or the gossip, then you and I can have any conversation, whether we both agree or disagree, in a peaceful manner because we're both trying to get the same thing accomplished." And I do that in recruiting. That's all I speak to players about. I talk to players all the time. I was 18, 19, man. I ran around, did stupid stuff. I'm not going to act like, thank God there's no social media when I was that age, or I never would have been a head coach. It just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And there's some people that know my sins, but I'm not going to advertise them for free. But I tell players all the time, so you want to run around and lie to people? That's between you and them. I don't advise it. It's not a smart move. I said, but there's only one person that can save you out of a real problem on this campus. That's me. Nobody else can save you but me. If you lie to me, then you don't need my help. So why if you don't want my help, I really can't offer you anything. So I try to live in the truth that way with the players.
There's got to be a common theme between the teams that you coach that were successful, from your K-State days, or 4 of the 5 years you were in the tournament, that 1 year you were in the NIT, your Final Four appearance at South Carolina, last year's team with UMass that won 20 games. What was the common theme with all those teams that allowed you to be successful?
Relentless work ethic and sacrifice. Guys that are just fearless of the work you got to put in, that, come in the next day, it's over. Win or lose. When I was a young coach, I got guys on my staff that played for me in high school. And I tell the players now, I can't believe that they dealt with me back then. Why? I was single. So I wasn't coaching I started coaching before I became a parent. So coaching prepared me to be a parent. But after I became a parent, I've become a better coach. Because I've learned from my own children, raising my own house, that they're going to mess things up. So I've learned how to be more understanding and more patient with other people's children. But from the word go, I'm trying to figure out how to word this, Christian. From the word go, I've always been so passionate for growth. That's all I ever cared about, because that's what basketball, football, my neighborhood, it helped me with growth. It didn't help me with being happy.
Yeah.
It helped me with growth. Growth is hard. We all want, hey, let's all be happy. Happy and joy is a result of growth. It's not while you're going through growth. That's uncomfortable. That is a difficult time. When you're under that bench press and you're trying to get 225 off your chest, that's hard. Well, it's fun the first time you get it off your chest, but then you got to go get 250. Well, 250 ain't comfortable now. It's not fun to get underneath that bar. And so the challenge is growth and trying to understand the patience and the aggression, because it's a combination of both, that comes with making other people want to grow, is a challenge. It's something that never ends. I just spoke to our players about that today. The journey, the goal is to always get better. It's not to be at peace with who you are. Always get better. Doesn't mean we got to be great today. It's okay. Like when I was a young coach, man, I used to come into practice. If we didn't play well the night before, I'd go out drink beer all night. I still had to go teach my math class at 7:00 in the morning. So now I'm miserable because I'm short sleep. And I watch film because that's what I would do. I'd go drink beer and watch film. So now I've slept 2.5 hours to go teach math class. Those students don't care that we had a bad game. I got a responsibility to come teach them. So I had to do my job. So now by the time we get to practice at 3:30, I'm really, really tired.
Yeah.
But I was still
and irritable.
Yeah, I was still full of piss and vinegar from the day before. And then I come into practice like a madman. That didn't help anything get better. That's irrelevant. I realized as I started getting older, if we didn't play well, 9 times out of 10, it's my fault. I didn't prepare the right way. So why the heck would I be mad at them the next day? And I've realized that sometimes you don't play well. It's part of life. I did my job. They tried. We just didn't play well. Or sometimes you play out of your minds, but the next day is the next day.
Do you think that 15 years or whatever it was that you were coaching math in high school, do you think that prepared you to be a better communicator, better coach?
Hands down. Hands down. It's
why? Why was it? Because math is hard and nobody understands it?
Yeah. So I'm a young math teacher and I wanted to teach. And again, man, I don't say this like I'm like this rough, gruff guy or whatever. Nah, I say this because it's just my journey. So I share my journey. It's not, I don't try to I'm an open book. I don't try to act like I'm smarter than anybody or any of that stuff. But I always wanted to teach. Math was numbers and stuff was something that was always attractive to me when I was young. So I always wanted to teach the students that didn't want to do schoolwork. I got a joy out of that one. Like, let me figure out a way to help these folks that nobody else wants to help. And I'd end up in a classroom and math is a subject that 80% of students despise. Like, man, why am I doing this? But there you go.
Give me a practical way I'm going to use this in my life. Well,
here you come. Here's where it's coming. So I got no idea where this came from. No one ever told me this. But I'm a big believer when you're the one, my high school coach always said, Frank, the most important person in the room every day is the head coach. It's the most important person. If the head coach isn't rock solid with their messaging and their convictions, everyone else falls out of line. And so now as a teacher, again, most important person in the classroom is the teacher. If the teacher doesn't have answers for you, when you have questions, I got no chance to lead you. And so I'm in front of the room and it's an Algebra 1 class. And I had this one dude who everyone in school knew him because he hated school, but he wasn't a bad guy, but he just hated school. So he's in my class and we're dealing with algebra, which is all formulas. And he said, Coach, why I got to do this, man? He was like, I ain't never going to, like, I go to the grocery store, man. They ain't saying A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Like, what? I have no idea, Christian, where this came from. It's just like the thought ended in my head and it's what came out of my mouth. And I've owned it ever since because it makes sense to me and it's helped the people I've been in front of. I said, I totally agree with you. You're not going to the grocery store or the restaurant for a math formula. I said, but I can tell you this, figuring out how to solve that formula, that creates logic. And as you go through life gets more complicated. And the more complicated it gets, the more problems you have. If you can't solve problems, you got a problem. So you better take advantage of creating a mindset on how to solve problems through math. That's going to help you later on in life when you solve other problems. Because if not, if you don't solve problems, like I use my math examples teaching players, I'm like, yo, we're 2 days in. We're in chapter 1. Eventually, I got to get to chapter 5. If you're still in chapter 1, I can't play you. Don't get mad at me.
Yeah,
I ain't mad at you. But if you're in chapter 1, I can't play you because the people in chapter 5 are going to be mad at me if I try to put you in there because I'm going to mess it up for them. They get bored.
Yeah, that is listen, I've never heard that version of it. And I'm trying to bring myself back to when I was high school. And if my algebra teacher tried to explain it to me that way, I probably would try to prove her wrong. No, I'll never need math ever in my life. I'm gonna let you go. A couple more for me. So just,
Yeah.
I guess, so your three most important coaching points, and I tried to do this after every discussion. Honesty, but for you, I'm going to call it brutal honesty.
Yeah.
Work ethic
Yeah.
has got to be a key component.
Yep.
And there has to be some sort of passion. You have to love what you're doing. You have to care about it. It's got to be real meaningful. So it has to show either in your personality, how you carry yourself, or how you coach.
If you come in our facility, those words you just used, they're everywhere in our locker room. They're up in our building because those are words that that mean a lot to us. I'm a family guy. I come from family. I believe in the family. I believe that the basis to all our success comes from family. Not all families are perfect. Not all the people within the families do right. But as a family, we have to protect that name. And we got to do that name better as we go on our own journey. And so I've learned that at home. I learned that at my high school as a student, and then I've carried it into coaching. And these are my 4 basic principles, because family is the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
It's honesty. You and I, we got to be honest with each other. If we can be honest with one another, then we get the trust. That means that then I can give you the baton and trust that you're going to respect what I'm asking. And then when I can get to where I don't have to look, you're going to go fight for what I'm asking, then that's loyalty. And then if we get to loyalty, then and only then we can get to love. That means that now we got to deal with the good days and the bad days and not turn our backs on each other. That's a real family. It's easy to get married. It's really hard to stay married. It's all you got to do is ask. Someone's going to say yes.
Yeah.
But once you get married, it just begins, brother. And them differences and challenges and uncomfortable moments get bigger and bigger. So if you just get married without the first 3 steps, then there's no real love.
Yeah.
So when there's no love, it's easy to give away. And so that's how we try to build everywhere I've been under that pretense without those ideologies to get the real love. Because like I grew up in South Florida and we got hurricanes down there. And we had this hurricane in 92 called Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these developments that had gone up, this construction builder, I can't remember their name, but he used to build all these beautiful developments. When the hurricane came through, those developments were leveled, flat. Yet these other older developments, there was roof damage, there was window damage, but the home stood strong. And I remember driving around Miami back then saying, wow, those homes look better than these homes, but the storms came and flattened this house. Why? Because there's no foundation. And as I've gone in my journey, when you have love, that means you've already passed all the uncomfortable things. You live at peace. And so when you have love, the storms are eventually coming. With your team, it's winning and losing, playing time. It's coming. Success, failure, it's coming. Family, it's whatever the family struggles are. But when you have love, you refuse to let go. You hold on tighter and you figure out a way to stay in the same space so you can overcome that storm, and then you repair your shingles or you repair your window, whatever wasn't working the right way, because you believe in each other. When there is no love, it's going to get flattened. And when it's flattened, there's no more relationship and it's over. So long version answer to those are my 4: honesty, loyalty, trust, honesty, trust, loyalty, and eventually love.